How do you measure a team's strength? Based on trophies? Should we prioritize points or beautiful football? Having a look at market values may be a good option. However, it's not always that easy due to inflation. All the prices tend to rise every year. For example, in 4 years, from 2018 to 2022, inflation rose by about 15%. So if some team's market value was 100 million euros in 2018, today's equivalent would be 115 million. That is why even a slight decrease in market value may be a sign of crisis, if we take inflation into consideration. However, there's one more obstacle now: the coronavirus pandemic. Yet another thing to prevent clubs from growing in price. Today we talk about the clubs which suffered the most. These clubs' market values have dropped significantly since 2018. But before we get into it, try to answer this question: which of these teams has the squad with the biggest market value? Manchester City, PSG, Real Madrid, Bayern. Werder, 133,900,000 then, 39,300,000 now, 94,600,000 difference, minus 70.6%. The four-time German champion is now playing in the second Bundesliga after the team got relegated last season for the first time in 40 years. The financial troubles began in the mid-2010s as the owners went into debt. The situation looked bad, though stable, so there was a chance Werder could have found a way out of it. But then the pandemic happened. Because of the lockdown and empty stands, Werder's earnings dropped by 30 million euros. The situation became critical and the board made a fatal mistake. Unlike other teams, they did not cut expenditures. When the coronavirus struck, Werder was spending more than 1/3 of its budget on players' salaries. Then the incomes plummeted. And all of a sudden, the club was spending 3/4 of its budget on salaries by the start of the 2021 season. The owners had to take measures, but they missed the moment. While other clubs were cutting down, either on staff or on salaries, Werder did neither, and as a result ended up on the verge of bankruptcy. The team's results were no surprise: 16th place in the 1920 season, and then the relegation. As you would expect, some key players left the club. Rashica and Sergeant moved to Norwich, while Augustinsson left for Sevilla. All in all, Werder got about 30 million euros from it, and managed to stabilize the situation a bit. Now the club has a task in hand: get back to the Bundesliga, where this team belonged. Manchester City, 1,900,000 then, 991,300,000 now, 98,700,000 difference, minus 9.2%. You did not expect to see them in this list, did you? Guardiola's team has already won 3 Premier League titles, and now they have their eyes set on another one. City has also managed to become a real threat in the Champions League. With that in mind, we can explain the market value drop with natural causes. The players simply got older. Some of them have already left the club, the likes of Kompany and David Silva. The others are turning 30 soon or already in their 30s, among them De Bruyne, Mahrez, Gundogan and Walker. In addition to that, the club sold a couple of young promising players, such as Sané and Ferran Torres, though City got more than 100 million euros for them. But we might expect Manchester City to settle that as soon as things go back to normal, as the Sheikhs are known for doing business in the right way. There are conditions for that. The club keeps finding the right players, as City signed Cancelo and Rodri in 2019 and Ruben Dias in 2020. The centre-back beat the citizens like a glove and won the Premier League Player of the Season award. This summer, Man City made a record signing. Jack Grealish from Aston Villa cost them 117 million euros. And despite the Englishman's unimpressive start, he still has plenty of time, as he is only 26, and that is why he is such a valuable asset. That's how Manchester City is being rebuilt, finding the right substitutions for the former legends. And even though the pandemics hit City, like it hit every club, in this case the market value drop looks temporary. Fulham, 250,500,000 then, 147 million now, 103,500,000 difference, minus 41.3%. Do you know which London club is the oldest? Is it Arsenal, Chelsea, or maybe West Ham? No, it is Fulham, which was founded back in 1879. In its 143 years of existence, the Cottagers won no major trophies, so this club is mostly known for its constant relegations and promotions, joy turning to despair from Championship to the Premier League and back. The situation has reached a point of absurdity as Fulham never stayed in the same league for more than one season in the last 5 years. Thus, in the 2017-18 season, the Cottagers won the promotion to the Premier League, but only to get relegated. The 2019-20 campaign brought them yet another promotion, and yet again they got back to the Championship. That's where Fulham is currently playing. Such a rollercoaster couldn't help but affect Fulham's finances. In summer 2018, they spent 117 million euros on new signings that should have helped Fulham avoid relegation. But it didn't help, so many players, among them Sessegnon and Babel, left the club. As for now, Alexander Mitrovic is the most valuable Fulham player, worth 18 million. Another attacker, Wilson, is worth 15 million, while Jean-Michel Seri, the key midfielder, is worth 6. As Fulham is currently top of the league in Championship, the team does have a chance to try themselves in the Premier League again next season. Valencia, 422 million then, 298,300,000 now, 123,700,000 difference, minus 29.3%. Unlike the others, Valencia has been struggling for a while. Back in 2014, the club was on the brink of bankruptcy. In the same year, the club was bought by the tycoon from Singapore, Peter Lim, and saved from actual bankruptcy. It seemed that the worst was over as Valencia started showing solid football. But everything changed in 2019 when Marcelino was sacked after his team won against Barcelona in the Copa del Rey final. After the questionable move by Lim, it all went south for Valencia. The fans were getting more and more angry with the board, and then the lockdown occurred. Valencia finished the 2019 season in the 9th place in La Liga, which meant no European football for them. Devoid of the much-needed money from the Champions or Europa League, the club ended up in a disastrous financial situation. Valencia had to sell a number of important players to stay afloat, Ferran Torres and Dani Parejo, the club legend. That transfer hurt the fans the most. The midfielder didn't really want to leave and blamed the board for making him go. That made the fans even more mad. They kept cursing Lim and accusing him of betrayal, incompetence and corruption. What his daughter posted on her Instagram account was over the line. "This is our club and we can do whatever we want," she wrote. After that, the Valencia chairman was sacked, and it's not like the fans took the bait and forgave Peter Lim. It was clear that he only wanted to find someone to blame. The spirit is still low at Valencia. The supporters urge Lim to sell the club, and it is something that may happen sooner or later, but won't it be too late? Juventus, 783,500,000 then, 566,400,000 now, 217,100,000 difference, minus 27.7%. Juve's transfer policy was always considered smart and steady, though some time ago something went wrong. It began with Allegri getting sacked in 2019. It wasn't the best of seasons, but still Allegri managed to win the league and reach the Champions League quarter-finals. That questionable decision was followed by others. First, Sarri took over, in spite of the fact that his Sarri ball didn't fit Juventus and Ronaldo at all. And then Pirlo, with little to no coaching experience. Meanwhile, some big signings were made, among them De Ligt, Danilo and Vlahovic for 85, 37 and 81 million euros respectively, not to forget Chiesa and McKennie. However, a number of players were sold for decent money, for example Can to Borussia and Spinazzola to Roma. Cancelo, who had been bought for 40 million and then sold for 65, is a good indicator that the Juventus board know how to do business. And yet, the team leaders are getting older, and fresh blood is required to remain competitive. The things at Juventus still may get better. With Allegri in charge, the team is starting to get back to their philosophy, showing signs of progress, so the Bianconeri fans have a reason to stay optimistic. Schalke 04, 267,200,000 then, 32,900,000 now, 234,300,000 difference, minus 87.7%. The story of Schalke's downfall is a very heartbreaking one for the fans. The residents of one of the most troublesome places in Germany found comfort in supporting their local club, as it played with the best German clubs in the Bundesliga, though it ended in a flash. Tedesco's team finished second in the 2017-18 season, which may be considered a trophy if we keep Bayern in mind, and then a disaster. Tedesco was sacked, Schalke finished 14th. Even though things were obviously going bad, it looked like further decline could have been averted. The 2019-20 season ended with 12th place for Schalke, but the performance in the second part of the season was awful. Only one victory. The win against Borussia Mönchengladbach on January 17 remained Schalke's only one in 2020. After that, the team didn't win for 30 games, which was the biggest ever winless streak for Schalke. Such a miserable performance left Schalke no chance to stay up. There were problems of every kind. The club changed coaches 5 times in one season, and of course the financial side. Schalke got into debt as the revenues dropped due to the pandemic, as the board failed to solve that problem. As for now, in 2022, Schalke is all about austerity, saving on everything, from salaries to sponsorship deals. Will that help? That's something only time will tell. Real Madrid, 1,300,000 then, 780 million now, 250 million difference, minus 24%. The only club in this list to avoid serious financial problems is Real Madrid. Florentino Perez is known to be a good manager. Everything he does for a reason. He did well to react to the difficulties caused by the pandemic in 2020. Real Madrid cut down on salaries, and that was enough to stay afloat. However, Florentino is now trying to make the club's financial status even more secure. That's what the Superliga was meant to bring. It did not come into being, and now the Real Madrid president is trying to find other ways to make money for his club. As he said, Real Madrid would soon find it difficult to compete with the sheikh's money that keep coming to football. That led to the rumors about Perez being ready to sell a 49% stake to private investors so that Real Madrid gains more money. As for the transfers, Perez has been trying not to be too wasteful for quite a time, and that's a good thing it seems. The latest signings turned out to be quite questionable. While Militao and Mendy were a good fit for Real Madrid, Hazard and Jovic, both for 115 and 63 million respectively, were both big disappointments. Another thing is the likes of Hakimi and Varane. These two could have helped the team, but were sold. But all in all, the fans have hopes Perez knows what he's doing. After all, he's been in charge for 13 years, almost 20 if we count his first term. Real Madrid is about to be completely rebuilt, so we can expect the club's market value to rise significantly. Atletico, 898 million then, 646.5 million now, 251.5 million difference, minus 28%. Atletico Madrid, yet another Spanish club. So why are there so many Spanish teams in this list? There's more than one answer. First, it has a lot to do with Javier Tebas, the president of La Liga. His policy involves more or less equal shares of money for big and small clubs, and that is why there won't be much money for Atletico. The other reason is the Spanish socios system. All the key decisions are taken by the club's registered members. By the way, this is what Perez is planning to get rid of by selling the 49% stake. But if we talk about Atletico Madrid, it's not only about the La Liga rules, the socios and the pandemic, as the club is also rebuilding the squad. A number of team leaders were sold to top clubs. Rodri and Hernandez were sold for 140 million euros combined, though Atletico also signed some rising stars like Felic and Llorente. Anyway, there are too many players to have left the club. Partey in 2020, Griezmann to Barcelona, though he could have helped Atletico a lot. And then Kieran Trippier, who has recently joined Newcastle. It's amazing that despite all that, the team managed to win the La Liga title last year, so maybe the squad's market value is not something the fans should worry about. After all, Diego Simeone can achieve a lot even on a tight budget. The Argentine has already proved that more than once. Tottenham, 837,500,000 then, 581 million now, 256.5 million difference, minus 30.6%. The Champions League final in 2019 was a big success for the Spurs. After that iconic campaign, Tottenham clearly lost the momentum, and the fact that their squad's market value decreased so significantly is a good indication of that. Apart from the pandemics, a lot of mistakes were made by the board. Daniel Levy, the Tottenham owner, is known for being a stingy one, and his transfer policy has been criticized for years. The changes should have been made long ago, as the former leaders got older and left the club. The likes of Moussa Dembélé, Eriksen, Vertonghen and Alderweireld. Though there were some decent signings, for example Bergwijn, Reguilon and Højbjerg, the Spurs have yet to find replacements for their former leaders. This Tottenham differs a lot from the team we saw 3-4 years ago. The team's ambitions went down from competing for the Premier League title to qualifying for the Europa League. However, Antonio Conte might be the one to instill the winner's mentality in Tottenham, but he does need the right transfers to do so. Barcelona, 1,230 million then, 650.5 million now, 579.5 million difference, minus 47.1%. A lot has been said about Barcelona and the financial troubles. The club is in total crisis, simple as that. In summer, Laporta announced that Barcelona debts are over 1 billion euros and a number of players, including Gerard Piqué, agreed to decrease their salaries significantly. It began when Bartomeu was still in charge. The Blaugrana's debt has been increasing by 60 million euros a year for some time. At first, it didn't seem that bad because of the revenues increasing as well, but when the pandemic occurred, it got more difficult to pay debts. Obviously, there was no way for the club's market to grow, and the Hardiest transfer policy made things worse. Kevin Prince Boateng and Semedo were signed, while such players as Suarez and Rakitic had to leave, and that was not the noisiest of the stories. What seems even weirder is that exchange between Barca and Juventus. What made Bartomeu pick Pjanic over Arthur? That's a big question. And don't forget about Griezmann, he cost Barcelona 120 million euros. And last but not least, Messi had to leave due to some minor La Liga rules. The epitome of a disaster. So Laporta and Xavi have a lot of work to do. As for now, in addition to some talented youngsters, Torres and Traoré were signed, and we have yet to see if the new Barca can make it. Big money may not be enough to bring immediate success. It's not about how much money you have, it's about how well you spend the money you have. So if a team's market value decreases, there might be a number of reasons. Anything can happen, but when we talk about hundreds of millions being lost, it has a lot to do with poor management. And what do you think? Which of these clubs will increase its value sooner than others? Let us know in the comments. See you soon!